I came from a family of, it was supposed to be 4. I lost my other brother due to some mysterious events that I don't still understand. I'm trying not to carry the CAC church mindset into the fact that the world is pursuing you and into the whole, there has to be an explanation. And I now have funky friends that believe those things don't exist. So I am not sure which of them to really align myself with. But he died in a very mysterious way, actually. My grandfather was sick in the village, and then they called my dad to come home they had this thing in the village that if you have a cat in the family house and then someone is sick in the house and the cat plays with the person and the cat leaves the house and doesn't come back, then that person is not going to survive the sickness. But if the cat stays, then it means the sickness is recoverable. My grandfather had a cat, and then this happened. The cat played with him and then escaped, went into the bush. So he had the mindset that I wasn't going to recover from this. And then he called my father. My father, freshman, educated. What do you mean? Have you gone to UCH Ibadan? Have you gone to UI University? Have you gone to OAU teaching us? Father traveled. While he was going, he lost 2 tires on the road. 2 tires. He bought the tires. Took his father to the hospital. They admitted him. He had to resume back to work in Lagos. He came back. While he was coming back again, he lost 2 tires. So, okay. He got into the house. My other brother was way older than me, 5 years older than me. So as my father was entering into the house, my other brother jumped on chairs and hugged him. I was still trying to find my way around. And then I hugged him. He went into the room, dressed down, came back into the sitting room. And then my mother had this tradition of, she eats with my dad in the same plate. And then at that time, they eat together in the same plate. And then I and my elder brother eat in the same plate. And while we were eating, he wasn't sick. He just said, and the food fell, and he fell into the chair. And that's how he died. So I'm still amused. I still get to think about it. I will talk to my friends. They'll tell me, did we do, what do they do after autopsy? I said, how do you do autopsy for? How do you explain the spiritual autopsy? But that happened. My dad is from a polygamous home, from the village. He has his own personal issues. I don't know how to explain it, but he was never really around, but he still wanted to raise disciplined children. He stopped my mom from working. So my mom was in-house. She left the bank. He opened a store for her where they sell what we call wosi-wosi, all this, then provisions and all that. In the early 80s, or late 80s into the 90s rather, we had that, she had that store. So she was very involved in our lives. She taught me how to cook, because we weren't going out to where lock the gates, as they would call it. They would lock us in the house. She taught me how to cook. I can compete in any food cooking competition. She taught me how to clean. She did all that. But my dad was not really around. You will write the list for my dad as to whatever it is you want and drop it on his bed. So he would come at night, check the list, tick the one he's going to give you, like the way we mark in primary school, and then put the exact amount for those things and roll the paper and put it on his bed. So you don't have to question him. When you come, you just take that paper, see what he has marked. That's what he's paying for. That's all. Pick it and go to school. That was the relationship we had. And then I got into Federal Government College with Ubumosho. I was shipped from Lagos down to Ubumosho. And my parents never came for any visiting day. They never came for any visiting day. Whatever I take to school, I had 3 sets of provision. I would go to my housemaster's house, keep some in the box, had some to myself. But I'm coming from a family where my mother caged us and taught us real life values. My mother would buy all the power must change hand from all churches. She would do everything and all. And then I was getting into a school where it was hip to fly your shirt. It was hip to have a girlfriend. It was hip to get into certain vices that society, or I had been taught not to believe that wasn't right. And then I started exploring some things. I wanted to become the big boy. So I learned a lot of bad vices, the normal. At 11, I started drinking. And when I drink, I still drink, no, but I started drinking heavily. And my parents didn't know because they were not around to notice. But somehow, I had something happened while I was in school. Then I had a mark on my eye when I came back from the holiday, and my parents thought I had joined the cult. So they stripped me naked, checked my whole body, and saw that it was only the eye. So they changed my school again to a private school. It's because I'm in that school. And they didn't even want to know. I tried giving them the explanation as to why that happened, but it didn't make sense. There was no interaction. And that's one thing that I would say, for the first point I would like to make, that I've tried to improve on as a parent is, I really try to listen to. My first son is 5, the second is 1 year and 2 months, but I try to listen to the 5-year-old because there are things that they say that we think they don't understand what they're saying. But I can remember my elder brother dying, the way he died, perfect. I just explained it, and I was 5 at the time. So if I can explain that this way, I'm not going to be surprised that my 5-year-old son, with the digital whatever and all that we have now, has more information than I do. So I think it's something that we should imbibe as parents. Try to listen to these kids. That's the first of it. I got into a lot of vices. I wanted to try everything. Then at the age of 16, I was slightly a rebel. Like, the things that interested me were the things that I had not seen in my family tree. Like, my father was a banker. Everybody I know in my family worked salary jobs. They were all in the commercial and art. So I went to do the sciences just to prove them wrong that, is it that we don't have anybody that has sense for sciences? Are they all dumb? So when I got to my dad, I told my dad I was going to do science for SS1. He said, his normal line is, you're an idiot. You think for that mass and the likes is for you. I just went into it. And I finished. Then I started, but he had this thing. Because of the background he had, it would never give you, he felt exposing us to certain things would lead us astray. So he would pay the fees, but your feeding in school might be a problem. Not because he doesn't have the money. My father is a socialite. When I mean, he enjoys his life to the tits. But he would not send you money and tell you to find a way around it yourself, thinking he was training you. You understand? So I went to the best of schools. But I had that issue of, I always felt less among my friends because the basic things that they had, I didn't have. When they steal my things, there was no way to get it back. Or I wouldn't even know, so I would have to find a way either by hook or by crook to get it. And during those periods, I learned a lot of things. I'll give an example. When I got into the university, I left Lautech after 3 years because of strike and the likes, and I came to Covenant University. And then we still used to go pay. That was what the advent of eTransact. You take your school fees and go convert into the eTransact on the eTransact platform, get a PIN, and then go load. So I went to the bank, withdrew my school fees at the time, around 200 and something thousand. We drew it and brought it to the hostel, and the money was stolen. So I couldn't go back to my father to say, what the best school fees me. I could not even dare it. I now started finding ways to pay my school fees. That year I had 16 carryovers. So, till I finished. I finished the 3rd class, but I dare say today that my lecturers told me in 400 level that you're going to employ a lot of us. My classmates said the same thing. I knew, I walked up to them after 400 level and I said, Shemolegba document means here. I know I'm not going to use this. I've not collected my certificate from school till today, and I finished 2010. I've never needed it. And I came out with a third class, and then that now broke the camel's back. My father said, I told you, you face sciences when you shouldn't have faced science. Number one, a dumb decision. Number two, you're coming out with a third class. Who would employ you? Who would do this? Who would do that? So I had the challenge of, I'm going to make him eat his words. That was my aim. That I'm going to make this man swallow his words. I have done everything that there is anything. I've sold sand, I've sold block, I've hired tipper. In fact, I've jumped on tipper that silencer has burnt my hand. I have traveled in the night with truck. I have to carry to deliver load. I've made clothes. I have sold computer, I've sold pad, I've sold pancake. I've done everything in the bid to, but I always had this thought. I always make friends that are older than me. So I try to see, I listen to them a lot. What is it that you're doing that is giving you headway? I knew early enough that making money in hard currency was the way to go. So my aim, all I was doing then, was channeled towards how can I begin to earn in hard currency. And then 5-6 years ago, as life, chance, God, whatever it is we want to put it, came in alignment to help me with me getting into training. I was trained by the federal government, though I paid for it, 500,000 at the time, to begin to export agro-commodities in large quantities. You're learning how to trade agro-commodities. This is a business that, I'll give quick numbers. A container of the hibiscus flower zobo that we drink today is around 15 million naira. I didn't have 100,000 naira. And I had the belief that, and I never liked motivational speakers. I feel it's a waste of time. I just felt, you would tell me deceive it to achieve it, to this, to that. What are we deceiving ourselves on? But I just had this crazy belief that I'm going to do something that is going to take me off that level. Because everybody in my family gets to this point, they are okay, they build a house or two, they have this, they retire, they get their pension, they are fine. But I wanted to get out of that line and get into generational wealth. Like, I needed that thing that would make me, the prayer I pray 10 years ago is still the prayer I pray now. Like, I recite my prayer like all these Muslim prayers, because I know exactly what every word means. And it entails becoming someone that will be felt generations after I've gone. And when I wanted to get married to my wife, I sat her down and I told her two things. I said, the first thing is, anybody that is in 5 years, we just clocked 5 years 3-4 days ago, 5 years anniversary. I said, anybody that is your mate, you can clap, it's just fine. I said, anybody that is your mate in 5 years of us getting married should also go thank God that God has blessed the person. And I can say today that she has grown more than 100%. That is one. I also said that my aim is not to make, my aim is to be read about in books long after I'm gone. And God is beginning to put things in place for me to achieve that. Today I am known in that export field. I am beginning, even when we've not started, we are beginning to put things in place, and we're doing well. We've done transactions that are mind-boggling in figures, and God has been able to help us. The major thing is the transitioning between the time of being caged to the time of being overly opened. And I say, you can't, it's like you're starving me of something and then you give it to me all at once. It can be overwhelming. Even water can kill. Even the water that we drink can kill. So we should be deliberate about the kind of exposure we give. If you want to create that shape, best believe that you are sure that that child would keep going on in that line. If it is not realistic, don't start it. If it is not realistic, if you know the world is harsher than what you're creating, then let the child have that in a certain level from the beginning. Because jumping from bucket to bucket can be very dangerous. It affects the child's self-esteem. I had to build my self-esteem myself. It's at a point now where it is dangerous and it makes me dare things, but I would say those jumping from bucket A to bucket B to bucket C has made me do almost every and anything except using hard drugs like cocaine and like, well, smoking I did it, drinking I did it, women, everything that is in the scope of being. But some way, God, grace, life, whatever, got me out. And today I am extremely cautious about what I listen to, what I expose myself to. I know that I shouldn't let it be dirty. And that is one thing that I say for every parent here. Control what you want your child to be exposed to, but also control in the limits that you know is going to make that child a better person for tomorrow. That is it. Thank you for the time.